if I avoided those and focused my energy in a different direction, I could actually have an experience with a woman that is far more sexual than I could ever experience in any type of fling. What I'm going to talk about is how I committed adultery and I left my wife and I blew up my entire life in an instant.
The Tony Bova Show, built by pain, designed for freedom.
Welcome to the Tony Bova Show, where you are relentless by design. I'm your host, Tony Bova, and if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button, like, comment. I want to hear back from you guys as I continue to drop these episodes weekly for the high-level men that want to become the greatest versions of themselves. In today's episode, what I'm going to talk about is how I committed adultery, and I left my wife, and I blew up my entire life in an instant. And I'm going to talk about the lessons that I learned, and there's 3 key takeaways at the end that are going to help any guy that is either in the midst of cheating or is thinking about it. Because I know there are many guys out there that have this on their mind, and it's something that we don't talk about. As I get into the episode, I want to make sure I'm very clear with you very specifically that I'm not here to shame you. I'm not here to shame myself. I'm not here to shame any man that's experiencing something that they can't fully explain. They feel like they're not getting everything that they need, either inside their relationship or maybe they're not even in a relationship. As I go back in time and I start to talk about my story, which was nearly 10 years ago at this point, I had just gotten my dream job and it felt like everything had collapsed at that point. I was married, I had kids, and I'd finally reached a job that I had spent about a decade trying to get, and then felt completely unsatisfied along the way. You see, I grew up as a good boy. I grew up in the church, and I grew up with all these rules around me. So I didn't do any of those bad things when I was younger, where I actually waited to have sex before I got married. Years into that marriage, I didn't realize how dissatisfied and unhappy I was. And I'm not going to tell you need to be making decisions about if you're happy or not. But what I am going to tell you is that our perspective on how we move through the decisions we make, what we experience, and what the belief system that we utilize along the way, and how that affects the decisions we make. Now, I'm going to give you the nitty-gritty secrets about what was going on in my mind before I made those decisions that honestly, I didn't feel like I was making them of my own free will. I felt like I had no other choice, which was a strange thing to say, but I had been daydreaming about it leading up to that, because in my current relationship, there was no sexual intimacy. It was cold. There was no passion whatsoever. And I had been riddled with porn up until that point. You know, I talked about being the good boy, but underneath the surface, I had been utilizing porn as an escape for decades at that point. You see, after I did leave my wife and I did move on to another relationship where I did have a son that, man, I'm so grateful to have him. But that relationship really taught me a lot of really difficult lessons, because it was completely the opposite of the relationship I was experiencing before. It was toxic. It was patterns. It was these passionate moments that were hot and cold all the time, and it completely dysregulated me. I was so confused because up until that point, I'd been very naive when it had come to women, because I didn't really date much when I was in college. When I started to unpack that piece, when I started to really experience the shame and the guilt and the loss of friends and family and the frustrations and all of the different stories that came throughout that journey. You see, there's going to be a lot of stories you guys are going to hear that happened throughout that journey. This is just a bird's eye view of what I experienced. But leading up until that moment, I had already been fantasizing about it. And then afterwards, the crash, I didn't know who I was. But as I started to come out of that, as I started to gain more responsibility in what I had done and ownership of what I had done, I started to pick apart what I had been taught growing up about sin. Whether you're looking at a woman with lustful intent, or you're using swear words or the Lord's name in vain, or you're lying, or whatever amount of sin and the 10 forbidden sins that I had been taught when I was younger, that you might be experiencing, thinking about hatred, murdering in your heart, and how you told me not to sin because I was told not to do it. I didn't understand the complexity of why some of those things and the wisdom behind it were the reasons why I didn't want those to occur in my life. You didn't give me the positive reasons. The fact that if I avoided those and focused my energy in a different direction, and you gave me the frameworks that I now know, that I now learned, that I could actually have an experience with a woman, the woman that I'm committed to, that is far more sexual than I could ever experience in any type of fling, any type of situation where there's this excitement of the cheating and the forbiddenness of it, like the forbidden fruit. You see, most of us out here right now, most men have no idea how sexual their women actually are, that they're actual hidden beasts amongst them, and they're not going to tell you unless you make them safe enough. And that it's our responsibility to become the ones that unlock that inside of her. But the only way we can do that is if we start to dial back and look through the biological and DNA reasons why we were designed. You see, when we were designed in that protection provision space, and we hear a lot about this, and I'm not here to just cram protection and provision down your throat, but what I am here to tell you is that because it was life or death, not even that long ago, it was only a few hundred years ago, and if you think about it, it was only a couple people ago, that we had to protect them with our lives. Now that society is safened up, that we have law enforcement, we have the military, we have safe structures and systems, it's not as necessary. Women are able to protect and provide for themselves at this point. But the energetic piece, that piece where you can unlock the woman, that hasn't left. You see, when we start to show up in a safe container, that we provide her the ability to express her emotions in a way that we don't take them on, but we also allow her to express them so she can feel them, and she can start to step into that feminine energy that all of us really, truly, deeply want. You see, most of you don't really know what that looks like, that feminine energy. It's not how beautiful she is. It's not how she does her nails, if she wears dresses, and if she cooks and cleans. That feminine energy is that vulnerability. It's the fluidness of her, the ability for her to follow you without fully knowing why, where she is able to let her hair down. And when you step into the room, you feel this radiance about her. There's something that comes out of the energy she nurtures your kids with, or you with, where she just, the lightest touch brings you life in a way that it's hard to really explain. You know, women are very mysterious when it comes to feminine energy and why men will chase after it. The first thing I want to talk to you about is the hidden cost. And as we dive into this, and I've already explained it a little bit, but cheating blocks the deepest sex and energy that you can actually express. You see, when we start to look and fantasize about other women, and we start to think that we desire them as if we want to that we have to convince them to be with us, we actually block the energy that allows our women to feel safe. You see, women were designed to be sexual, so they should be the ones coming to us. And this is probably going to hurt a lot of your feelings, but it's just truth. The further we step back from making sex the priority in the relationship, the further she feels safe to actually come towards you. You see, the energy behind that speaks to her that you can't control me with your sexual energy. I will reward you with it, and I will take care of you and nurture you through your sexual desires in a way that is safe for you, because I'm able to control myself emotionally, physically, energetically. And that hidden cost, when we go and we cheat, what ends up happening is we're, I'm not saying sex with other women isn't wrong. I think the cheating piece comes when I'm trying to hide it from you. And when we start to hide things and we start to live in the darkness of things, that is where the shame and the guilt and the judgment all come up. That is the piece where our insecurities, where our imposter syndrome start to show up as a sneaky thief that comes up in the middle of the night. The second thing is that most men have no idea the sexual expression that your woman can have. We've already talked on that a little bit, but for you guys to fully understand that she is literally a beast inside, that if you could do these small things that are outside of the bedroom, that would make her start to feel more emotionally safe, and you actually were able to say no to things that didn't align with who you are as a man, and that you were able to show her dignity and compassion while still able to hold boundaries, that she would start to open up to you like a flower. The third thing I want to dive into is probably the most important thing. You see, in the third thing, I blamed women for years. I blamed them for being the reason to why I wasn't satisfied, the reason why I wasn't happy, the reason why I couldn't experience the relationship that I knew was possible. You see, that's shifted so much for me today. I'm with Sabrina now, and we have an amazing relationship that is, we'll just say it's rare, and most people believe that we're lying about it when we talk about it. That we have the ability to share things that most people can't in a relationship and laugh at the things that most couples fight over. Because we have a unique relationship with ourselves as individuals, and that we are able to lean into how we were designed biologically and lean into a deeper understanding, a deeper level of consciousness that allows us to have uncomfortable conversations that draw us closer together. Now, the belief behind this is what destroys you, that you believe that she can't actually be sexual, that you believe that you can't have a deep relationship with her, you believe that she's the problem. When we stop believing that we can't have everything we want, that we do have the capacity that we can get everything we want, then only then can we actually start to step into that. That is the moment where you're able to actually express yourself in a way that is safe for her. You're not going to emotionally dump on her if you're too sensitive, and you're not going to clam up and close off and stonewall her when you shut down. Like, there's two sides of men that we see today, is the oversensitive ones that they express too much emotion because they're blaming the other person for how they're feeling. And then you have men that completely shut down and they're cold. Now, there's a middle ground here where you actually can be grounded and stable and have strength and still share things about you so you can be seen. The ability to do that over and over in your relationship, and you start to build a foundation with a woman over time, that you're going to invest in her in a way you would with any bank account, and you're going to gain that interest back because you're investing in a way that you're getting a return. Now, I'm not speaking this from a selfish standpoint. I'm speaking this from a servitude standpoint. When we start to see our women as the ones that we need to serve, that we need to protect, and that I want to care for, she starts to sense your energy shift. She starts to sense the ability to let her hair down around you. She gets to finally express how she feels and realizes it's not as scary as she thought it was. That she is able to start to bring that unpredictable energy that all of us are trying to avoid when we don't have the understanding that is actually the thing that makes the other relationship exciting. When you start to understand her unpredictableness is the thing that you want the most from her, that it brings excitement and passion into the relationship, that you don't know what's going to happen at any given moment. And it gives you the ability to be tested and show her how strong you are and shut down those inappropriate behaviors where you get criticized and you get overwhelmed with her pointing the finger at you. Then you get to step into this incredible relationship. And this is for the individuals that are truly committed to themselves. Let me be very honest with you, that if you're not willing to do the work yourself, to have that great relationship, to be that version for her, then you can never expect her to become and be that version for you. It starts in the center of who you are as a man, and it will end inside the relationship and reflect back to you almost as if it is a mirror. I really appreciate you joining me for this episode. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe, hit that like, get in the comments. I want to hear back from you guys. Give me topics that you want to hear from, things that are maybe you've never heard before that have to do with masculinity, consciousness, and the ability to transcend discipline into beliefs. I want to remind you that you are built by pain and that you're designed for freedom. Thank you.